Tim Timberlake originally thought of titling his new book, The Funeral. For obvious reasons, his publisher nixed that. Still, throughout the book, Tim uses the metaphor of a typical Southern funeral to demonstrate how to overcome loss, pain, disappointment, and grief.
Tim Timberlake is the lead pastor of Celebration Church, with campuses in Jacksonville, Florida, and Creedmoor, North Carolina. At age 18, Tim lost his father to cancer, and for a while, his belief in God's goodness. But in time, his heart was revived and his faith restored. In his new book, The Art of Overcoming, Tim explains how to handle life's losses and disappointments, reminding us that God's love never fails.
Well, Tim's joining us now, and we welcome you to the 700 Club, Tim.
It's an honor and a privilege to be on the show this morning. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, thank you. Your book is so fascinating. What is it about overcoming loss that we can learn from funerals?
Yeah, I think when we look at the kind of storyline of a funeral, it's really honoring the life of the individual that we loved. We're not focusing on the day that they were born. We're not really focusing on the day that they died. We're there to focus on that dash in between their life. And this book focuses on that, how we could steward our lives in such a way that it helps us to see the silver lining of hope and our faith in Jesus throughout the various obstacles and difficulties that we will be presented with in this lifetime.
It wasn't always like that for you. You lost your dad the day after your 13th birthday. Talk about the grief you experienced then.
It was difficult. I had lost hope. My father was my hero. I just turned 18, and he had really kind of poured into me for about 5 hours, talking to me about what he desired, what he had been told by God for my life and for my destiny. And after about a 5-hour conversation, we went our separate ways, and that was the last conversation that we had. And I just remember thinking to myself, I wish that I had more time. And I wish that we could go back in time and kind of rewind that conversation. And it really rocked my faith. And one of the things that I learned is that God is not intimidated by my questions. He's not intimidated by the questions that I bring to him. And he answers those questions based upon what he desires to give me as answers. And I had to find my faith on my own, not off of the backs of my parents, not off of their faith, but really diving deep in the faith that I established with God through that difficult and hard moment. And I believe that life is changed for the better for having found that faith in Jesus.
Yeah. Life is full for all of us of disappointments from time to time, of losses. You talk about overcoming the little deaths in life. What do you mean by that?
Each and every one of us are faced with little deaths of disappointments, setbacks, the various mental health crisis that we see happening in humanity right now. And what we should do is take time to acknowledge that those things really exist in our lives so that we can start the healing process for those things. We can't allow God to heal what we continue to try to hide. And so we have to reveal those things, acknowledge them, and really bring them to him, because everything is better in the hands of Jesus. Yeah. He does far more with our pains, with our problems, with our sickness and disease in his hands than we ever could do in our hands. And that's what those little deaths focus on, acknowledging that these things do exist and placing them in the hands of Jesus so that he can do what only he can do.
You know, the challenge in all of that is feelings, because our feelings can so dominate the choices that we make. So you say that we need to face our losses head on. How do we do that practically?
Well, we can do that a number of ways. What I like to do is write down those things, get them on paper, look at those things, and then pray through those things, really thanking God for the opportunity for those things to either be in my life and having to experience those things, and then set myself with a hopeful expectation that the season that I'm walking into will be better than the season that I'm walking out of. I think something else is to surround ourselves with community. I believe that we're better together. We may run faster alone, but we will run longer in this life with other people. And so those are two practical steps that I try to implement whenever I experience loss or pain or difficult seasons that has really propelled me into better days.
You talk in the book also about the importance of finding closure, obviously. How do we achieve that when we sometimes get stuck in the process?
One of my favorite scriptures is found in the Old Testament. And it says, Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil. And I think in order for us to close the door, we have to continue walking. We can't get stuck in the valley. God did not call us to make a permanent fixture where he has asked us to continue to walk. And that sentence in that scripture is so powerful because it says, Yea, do I walk through. You're walking through it, sure. But the benefit of that season is you are walking through it. You're not going to stay there. And so we can close those doors of pain. We can close those doors of trauma and really setbacks and disappointments by continuing to move forward in this life.
Well, setbacks and disappointments come to all of us, and Tim Timberlake's new book is called The Art of Overcoming. It is available wherever books are sold. Tim, thank you so much. It's great to have you with us today.
Thank you so much.